Amidst a whirlwind of global events demanding attention, we turn our focus today to a critical issue unfolding closer to home. We'll delve into the specifics, state by state, and share our concluding thoughts at the end of this report. Have you ever passed by an encampment of tents nestled under a freeway overpass and found yourself asking, how did things reach this point? What is unfolding in this nation where holding down a full-time job might still leave you without a home, living on the streets? Let's broaden our perspective. Imagine whole states teetering on the edge of crisis, where poverty ensnares families, affordable housing becomes an unattainable dream, and emergency shelters are filled beyond capacity. This isn't isolated, it's expanding rapidly, much like a wildfire. Some of the states we'll discuss once represented the pinnacle of the American dream. Now they are perilously close to collapse. From exorbitant rents soaring sky high to devastating natural disasters erasing entire communities from the map, the downward spiral is alarmingly real. These are the 10 U.S. states descending fastest into the depths of poverty and homelessness. Number 10. California. Visually, it often resembles paradise. Palm trees swaying, beaches bathed in sunlight, and residences valued in the billions. Yet, deviate from the scenic route, and you encounter entire streets adorned with tents, individuals resorting to sleeping in vehicles, and sidewalks repurposed as makeshift shelters. California holds the unfortunate distinction of having the largest homeless population in the United States, exceeding 187,000 people, and that number continues to rise. It might surprise you to learn how many of these individuals maintain employment, care for children, or possess college degrees. In this state, housing is treated more as a luxury than a fundamental right, with median rental costs in cities like San Francisco approaching nearly $3,000 monthly. This isn't confined to major urban centers. Smaller communities are grappling with these challenges as well. How did the Golden State transform into a place where affordability is out of reach for so many? Why are more individuals leaving than arriving? And crucially, how much worse can the situation become? If one of the wealthiest economies globally struggles to find a fix, who can? Stay with us through this analysis, as we'll be drawing important conclusions at the very end. Keep watching, because the next state on our list is confronting a vastly different kind of crisis, yet one that is equally devastating. Number 9. New York. Skyscrapers piercing the clouds, the dazzling lights of Broadway, a place where dreams are supposedly made reality. Or at least, that's the image often portrayed. However, a closer inspection reveals a different picture. This is New York, where homelessness surged by 18% in 2023 alone, pushing shelters to their absolute limits. Families, children, the elderly, they find refuge sleeping on subways, crammed into overflowing shelters, or relegated to emergency hotels. And here's a startling fact. New York City by itself accounts for over 100,000 homeless individuals, a figure surpassing the entire homeless populations of several states combined. But what are the underlying causes? Skyrocketing rental prices, a severe lack of affordable housing options, and a system buckling under the pressure of managing both endemic local poverty and a significant influx of migrants. One might assume a place wielding such immense power and wealth would possess solutions. Instead, the societal cracks are visibly widening. How long until the weight becomes truly unbearable? How near are we to a critical tipping point? If this kind of in-depth reporting resonates with you, consider hitting that subscribe button and giving this video a like. It truly helps our channel grow. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our viewers. What occurs when a place perceived as paradise becomes prohibitively expensive for survival? The sunshine, the beaches, the retirees. It constructs an idyllic image. But a storm is brewing beneath the surface. And it's not the meteorological kind you track on the Weather Channel. Number 8. Florida. It's the destination many envision for their retirement years. White sand beaches, palm trees gently swaying in the breeze, sunshine bathing the state nearly year-round. However, peel back the postcard-perfect veneer, and you uncover something far more troubling. This is Florida, a state witnessing an alarming rise in homelessness among its older population. It might shock you to discover the number of seniors, people in their 60s and 70s, now living out of cars, residing in motels, or finding themselves on sidewalks. Many of these individuals never anticipated ending their lives in such circumstances. The core problem? Rents have exploded. In cities like Miami, the median rent significantly exceeds $2,500 per month. Contrast that with the average monthly Social Security check, which hovers just above $1,800. The arithmetic simply doesn't work, and people are bearing the brunt of this disparity. These aren't just individuals who made poor choices. Numerous among them worked diligently their entire lives. Now they find themselves priced out, aged out, and forced out. And this issue isn't exclusive to the elderly. Families with children are struggling immensely too. Eviction rates have sharply increased in cities such as Orlando and Tampa, and securing affordable housing is almost an impossibility. New construction fails to keep pace with demand, and waiting lists for housing assistance stretch on for years. The state is experiencing a boom in tourism and development, but for ordinary residents, particularly those reliant on fixed incomes or earning low wages, the reality is a starkly different story. Even more disturbingly, Florida has a massive service industry, tourism, food, hospitality, filled with workers who cannot afford to live anywhere near their places of employment. This results in long commutes, juggling multiple jobs, leaving no time for rest. What happens when a vacation paradise becomes unlivable for the very people who sustain its operation? And yet, a significant portion of this struggle remains concealed. You won't find it featured in the promotional brochures, but it exists, growing, quietly. Still believe the sunshine falls equally on everyone? Let's journey northwest, because the situation unfolding in our next state might surprise you even further. Number 7. Washington. Coffee, tech giants, and endless evergreen trees. That's the typical image conjured when Washington State is mentioned. But there exists a darker reality that most overlook. This state is now one of the most severely impacted by homelessness in the U.S., with tens of thousands living unsheltered, in tents, cars, or simply on sidewalks. You would be shocked to learn that Seattle alone witnessed a 22% increase in homelessness between 2022 and 2023. However, these are not mere statistics. Entire neighborhoods have been transformed, sidewalks have become makeshift communities, children attempt to complete homework in shelters, and parents work 2 jobs yet still struggle to afford rent. The median rent in cities like Seattle has surpassed $2,200 per month, and the housing supply cannot keep up. Even individuals earning $70,000 a year are finding it difficult to get by. This crisis isn't limited to urban areas. Rural regions in Washington are also experiencing spikes in homelessness, particularly among veterans and single mothers. Addiction, mental health challenges, and inflation converge into a massive storm. The safety nets? They are overwhelmed. What's even more concerning? The cold. Imagine being unsheltered as temperatures plummet below freezing. Many do not survive the winter. The state is implementing measures, programs, shelters, initiatives, but it's insufficient, not fast enough. And with each passing year, the crisis deepens. What occurs when a state renowned for innovation cannot even provide housing for its own people? How can progress be made when so many are left behind? Before we reveal the next state, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support content like this, and it lets our channel keep going, keep investigating, and keep sharing what's really happening across the country. You don't want to miss what's next. You think of cobblestone streets, Ivy League prestige, and history echoing through every corner. But underneath the legacy and the learning, something's unraveling. The numbers don't lie. And the truth? It's colder than you think. Number 6. Massachusetts. It's the kind of place people associate with opportunity. Elite universities, booming biotech, rich history at every turn. But walk a few blocks outside the campus gates or historic districts, and you'll see a much different reality. This is Massachusetts, a state currently facing one of the worst family homelessness crises in the nation. And you'd be shocked to know It's not slowing down. In 2023, Massachusetts reported over 7,500 families living in emergency shelters, hotels, or temporary housing. That's families, not individuals. Many of them are working parents with kids in school, doing everything right, but still losing their homes. Why? Sky-high housing costs, tight rental markets, and limited space. In fact, Boston's median rent is now over $3,000 per month, and vacancies are rare. But guess what? It's not just about rent. The state is also dealing with a dramatic increase in newly arrived migrant families, which has pushed the shelter system past its limits. Many shelters are full. Families are being housed in motels, gymnasiums, even college dorms during off-seasons. It's a temporary fix to a problem that's anything but temporary. And here's a chilling detail. Massachusetts is a cold state. Freezing winters, brutal storms. For families without stable shelter, it's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Some sleep in cars, others bounce between friends and family. Kids are growing up without a place to call home. How does a state with some of the best hospitals and schools in the world fail to provide the most basic need? Shelter? What does that say about how fragile stability really is? It's a quiet crisis, hiding behind academic prestige and polished skylines. But we're pulling the curtain back. And up next, an island paradise. Devastated. Number 5. Hawaii. It's the ultimate getaway. Blue oceans, volcanoes, hula dances. But for many locals, it's not paradise. It's survival. This is Hawaii, and you'd be shocked to know it has the highest rate of homelessness per capita in the entire United States. Let that sink in. For every 10,000 residents, about 45 are homeless. Compare that to the national average of 18, and you start to see the scale. But here's what makes it worse. Hawaii is expensive, really expensive. In Honolulu, median rent hovers around $2,600 per month, while food, utilities, and basic goods cost significantly more than the mainland. Now add this. In 2023, the deadliest U.S. wildfire in over a century hit Maui, displacing thousands. Entire communities were reduced to ashes in just hours. Some who lost homes were already living on the edge, and now they've fallen off entirely. Tourism bounced back. The hotels are full again. But many of the workers who clean those rooms and serve those drinks, they have nowhere to live. Locals are being pushed out, priced out, and in some cases, burned out of their homes. You'd think an island would be small enough to manage a crisis like this. But the truth? It's spread thin across every shore. When the sun sets over paradise, many are left in the dark, literally. No roof, no bed, just the sound of waves and the worry of tomorrow. Before we head to our next state, do us a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep these stories coming. Real stories, tough truths, and eye-opening facts you won't find in the headlines. Let's keep shining a light together. Skyscrapers, deep dish pizza, jazz in the streets. Sounds like a city that never lost its rhythm. But dig a little deeper, and you'll see something unraveling at the heart of it all. Because behind the beat, there's a growing silence, one that speaks volumes. Number 4. Illinois. You think of soaring skylines, rich jazz history, and the energy of a city that built the Midwest. But step beyond the tourist spots and the glossy images, and you'll find a story that's unraveling fast. This is Illinois, a state where the rhythm of everyday life is being drowned out by the growing noise of poverty, displacement, and desperation. In 2023, Chicago alone saw family homelessness rise by nearly 30%, fueled by a perfect storm of economic pressure, housing scarcity, and growing demand on shelters. Entire neighborhoods are changing, and not in the ways people hoped. Rents in some areas have skyrocketed, while wages for low-income workers remain stagnant. For many families, it's now a question of whether they can afford rent or groceries, not both. But guess what? This isn't just a city issue. Smaller towns across Illinois are also seeing the cracks widen. As manufacturing jobs disappear and housing development slows, many residents are left without options. Schools are watching their enrollment numbers fall, not because families are moving up, but because they're moving out, or worse, becoming homeless. Shelters in the state are overwhelmed. Emergency housing programs are at full capacity, and families often find themselves on wait lists, with nowhere to go in the meantime. And let's not forget the weather. Illinois winters are unforgiving. For anyone without stable shelter, even one night outside can be life-threatening. And there's another piece to this puzzle. Migrants. Thousands have arrived seeking safety and opportunity, adding even more strain to a system already at its breaking point. While many step up to help, the infrastructure just isn't ready. So how does a state with this much cultural and economic history end up here? Why are so many slipping through the cracks? And more importantly, what happens next if nothing changes? The truth is, some places aren't just struggling, they're on the edge. Number 3. Texas. Everything's bigger here, right? Big dreams, big cities, big industries. But behind the buzz of booming growth lies something much quieter and far more alarming. This is Texas, a state where prosperity and poverty sit just blocks apart, and the line between them is getting thinner by the day. Here's something you might not expect. Texas has one of the largest homeless populations in the country, and while cities like Dallas recently reported a 16% decrease in homelessness, that number doesn't tell the full story. Because guess what? In other parts of the state, it's getting worse, and fast. In Houston, shelters are reporting record demand. In Austin, tent communities stretch along highways and underpasses. Even in rural areas, families are facing housing shortages, sky-high rents, and vanishing affordable options. 1 in 6 Texans lives below the poverty line, and that's not just numbers. It's real people, real families barely hanging on. And then there's the cost of living. While some cities have booming tech sectors and rising wages, many residents, especially in service, construction, and education, aren't seeing the benefits. Rents have gone up as much as 30% in just a few years. For a single parent making minimum wage, that's a financial cliff with no guardrail. But perhaps most concerning of all, the youth crisis. More and more young people in Texas are experiencing homelessness, many aging out of foster care or fleeing unsafe environments. Without support, their chances of escaping the cycle are slim. Texas is growing. People are moving here every day. But growth without support creates cracks. And right now, those cracks are turning into sinkholes. So what happens when a state known for strength starts breaking down behind the scenes? Before we dig into what's happening next, take 1 second to hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep bringing you the truth, the real truth, about what's going on in America's backyard. And trust me, what's coming next? You'll want to see it. Mountains, forests, artisan coffee. It all sounds peaceful, right? But behind the scenic beauty and progressive buzz lies one of the most severe housing crises in the country. Something's happening here, and it's deeper than most people realize. Number 2. Oregon. Towering pines, misty coastlines, and a reputation for laid-back living. On the surface, this place seems like a dream. But beneath the beauty lies a truth many don't talk about. This is Oregon, and you'd be shocked at just how deep the homelessness crisis runs here. In 2023, Oregon had one of the highest rates of unsheltered homelessness in the country, with nearly 70% of its homeless population living outdoors or in vehicles. No shelter at all. The numbers are staggering. Over 20,000 people in the state experiencing homelessness, and the count keeps rising. Portland, once known for its creative energy and vibrant neighborhoods, now struggles with large encampments, overstretched services, and rising public tension. But the crisis isn't limited to cities. Rural areas across Oregon are also feeling the pressure, as housing becomes harder to find and more expensive by the day. So what's fueling it? A dangerous combo. Soaring rent, limited affordable housing, and a mental health system that's still catching up. And here's something most people don't realize. Oregon has one of the highest rates of homeless children per capita. Whole families are stuck in limbo, sleeping in shelters, motels, or their cars. And winter here? Cold, wet, unforgiving. For the unsheltered, survival becomes the daily goal. So, what happens when one of the most naturally beautiful states in America becomes one of the hardest places to survive? Number 1. Colorado. Snow-capped mountains, fresh air, and a booming economy. Sounds ideal, right? But look closer, and you'll see something most visitors never notice. This is Colorado, a place where the cost of living is climbing so fast, even full-time workers are being pushed out of their homes. In Denver, homelessness jumped by 31% between 2022 and 2023, according to the Metro Denver Homeless Initiative. You'd be shocked to see just how many people in this state live in tents, through brutal winters, with little to no access to services. What's behind it? A mix of skyrocketing housing prices, rising inflation, and a shortage of mental health support. The average home in Colorado now costs over $500,000, and rent prices are following close behind. And while the job market looks strong, wages haven't kept up, not even close. Even the mountain towns aren't safe. Locals in places like Aspen and Vail are being priced out by wealthy outsiders. Service workers commute for hours or sleep in their cars. So when did the dream of living in the Rockies become a struggle to simply stay warm and fed? Across the country, from sun-soaked beaches to snowy peaks, the crisis is clear. More Americans are slipping through the cracks than ever before. Some of these states were once symbols of opportunity. Now, they're warning signs. But here's the thing. These stories matter. They deserve to be told, and they deserve your attention. So, if this content opened your eyes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That simple click helps us keep doing the work, shining a light on the real issues, the real people, and the real stories that mainstream headlines often skip. We're just getting started. Stick with us, and let's keep digging deeper.